With the current crop of politicians, I am double sure you don't expect any politician will tell their children and you judge them and you declare the true status of our wealth. Wengi watadanganya. Most of the politicians, students ndio watakuwa beneficiaries. How well has the government thought through this? Ni akina nani watasaidika? Hi, good people. Thank you for joining us on 254 Political Checklist and Politrix Arena. I'm your host, Eva Ivanjao, and today I want us to have just civic education. I am not taking any sides. I am not supporting this new funding model, neither am I criticizing it, but how I wish we could learn what is in the books, what is in the papers, what is expected of us, so that we can act from a point of information rather than ignorance. Today, I want us to focus on the new higher education funding model that is being proposed by the broad-based government, or largely by the Kenya Kwanza administration. The difference between the previous or the former model and the current one is that let's assume that a BCom student is going to pay or was paying 220,000 shillings for the entire course. The government was funding equally for all students, and you'd find them maybe paying 180,000 on behalf of the learners to the institution, and the learners would all pay a standard of fee of about 40,000 per year. But the new model, the government is purposing to see different people in different classes, in different social status, paying for different amount of money in the courses. For instance, if you take someone who is going to do commerce in University X, the course is going to cost maybe 220,000. The government has divided its citizens into 5 categories. We have a band 1, band 2, 3, 4, and 5. The different bands will be funded differently, though the course is going to cost the same amount of money, 220,000, but like band 1, they are the most vulnerable people in the society. The government is going to fund them. Itawalipia scholarship of 70%. Then they'll be given a 25% loan through HELB, and the government will also facilitate 60,000 for their upkeep. If you add 70% and 25% loan, that is 95%. Their household will be expected to raise 5% of the entire amount, which will loosely translate to 11,008 shillings a whole academic year. If you go to the second band, they'll be expected to pay just 10% of the entire amount of money. That is 22,015. The government will give them a scholarship, 60% of 220,000. They will be given HELB loan at 30% of the course total amount, and then they'll be given 55,000 upkeep money. So the household will pay the difference, 60% plus 30%, that is 90. The household will pay 10%, which translates to 22,015. The last category ni yule student wataona sio needy sana, and that is band 5. So the government will give them a scholarship of 30%. Loan ya help they'll be given at 30%. Upkeep yao ita reduce to 40,000. But their household, the family or the student will be expected to raise 40% of the entire amount. Na kama huyo wa BCom ikikost 220,015, 40% translates to 86,060. Basically, government inaondoa burden from wale watu wenye ni vulnerable sana kwa society, na wale wenye wanajiweza they'll be expected to put in a higher amount of money. The amount of money that the students will be expected to pay back is the loan amount, which is basically band 1 is getting 25% of the total cost, but all the other categories will be receiving their help at 30%. Let us look at another category, like the who will be doing Bachelor of Education Arts. The course will cost around 83,600 in University X. Yule mtu vulnerable kabisa ako band 1 will be expected to pay just 5% of that amount, which loosely translates to 9,180. Yule mwenye pia hajajiweza bara kwa afadhali will be in band 2, and they'll be expected to pay just 10% of that amount, which is 18,360 for the whole academic year. Yule mwenye anajiweza kabisa in the society atalipa 40% of that amount of money, which translates to around 73,440. Sijui kama mpaka hapo tumeelewana. Now, as Evelyn, I have my own reservations to this new model, and how I wish the government could look at these few points before enrolling or before rolling out this new model. I don't know why it took them so long, since they started talking about it an year plus ago, but nothing has been done. I have a question. For instance, I am from a very humble background. Then maybe with time njia zetu zifunguke before I finish my 4-year course. What happens in this particular case? Will I be reclassified? Will I be taken to a different band? How long will this change take? Let us also take someone who will be evaluated, ambiwe he comes from well up background na amekwa maybe band 4 or 5, and in between the years of education, maybe the parents become incapacitated or they are even orphaned, sorry to say. What happens? Atapelekwa band ingine, or how are they going to come to tackle such a situation? I haven't seen anywhere they've said that they are going to keep revising the models after the first application. I also would want to know, with the current state of economy, what happens if most of the university students fall in band 1 and 2, yet the government has been crying and decrying that they have met empty coffers? Where is the government going to get this money? Especially now that they're all blaming the finance bill. What happens if we do not have enough revenue to cater for these new bands? Government imejicaution aje not to affect education, which is a basic right in our country. I also cannot believe that someone has been seated in the office, somewhere in a government office, anangoja students to apply for this higher education funding through cyber cafes. We have internet all over, even in our homes, we have Wi-Fi and all other electronic gadgets. And I'm assuming since barua zishaanza kutoka, someone sat somewhere in the office, wakangoja students waka-apply these things online, and now they have relied on the online data that has been given to classify these students. Imagine someone somewhere knows I have understood the model that is being used, na na expect nitajazia mtoto wangu ama nitamwambia ajaze aonyeshane that we are well up. How well has the government thought through this? Someone somewhere will say the government has data for parents, KRA pins, but how many of our parents have active pins? How many of our parents are employed by the government, that the government can track their income? Imagine someone somewhere is seated in the office na ameclassify. We've seen even orphans coming out to cry, mimi nimesoma kwa kusaidiwa na society but nimewekwa band 5 ama nimewekwa band 4. Why did the government know that all this is going to happen, but they did not take time to train their staff, maybe have enumerators on ground, people wa kwenda kuzunguka just like Equity does, or even KCB? But they just decided to sit, or even maybe pesa ilitoka, but somebody decided pesa ya serikali nitaikula tu. I really don't want to believe that someone is doing an assessment from their office as citizens. How safe are we in this administration? The president needs to give people confidence in him. He needs to give us some new assurance and reassurance for that matter. Remember, citizens have now taken it up to themselves to oversight this government, to keep your government on toes, Mr. President. Do not disappoint us. Do not disappoint youths of this nation. Thank you for tuning in, and we will be holding these and much more on our varsity education and any other topic that arises. Thank you. Kindly subscribe if you have not subscribed. If you have found this article helpful, please share, invite your friends to like our channel, and also to subscribe. Thank you.